Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here, and the Washington Commanders just drafted Alabama running back Brian Robinson with the 98th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. So we're going to be talking about that in today's video. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 7,500 subscribers. So I do not hate this pick for the Washington Commanders. In a bunch of mock drafts, I actually had the Washington Commanders drafting Brian Robinson, never this early because first of all, we never had a third round pick. I usually had us drafting him in like the 4th or 5th round. I think PFF was a little bit lower on him than other, sites. So I had him, a little bit lower, usually like in the 5th round. But the last mock draft I did, I had the Washington Commanders selecting Brian Robinson. And I honestly don't mind this pick. I think it's a little bit too early, a little bit of a reach, but not as much of a reach as our last pick. So you look at this past season, 271 carries, 1,343 yards, 5 yards a carry, had 14 touchdowns, also was a threat as a receiver as well, 35 catches, 296 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So very, very productive. Also, when you're thinking about did we reach for him, we probably picked him a little too early, but here's the thing. We picked him with basically, or it was a compensatory pick in the 3rd round. So it's basically like a borderline 3rd to 4th round pick. So it's not that much of a reach. And I do really like the player Brian Robinson, and it's the running back type that I wanted us to target. I wanted us to target a big body running back, a bruiser, a bulldozer, and that is what Brian Robinson is. 6'1", 225 pounds. There were some other options that we could have went with, a little bit later, like Abram Smith from Baylor, who I think is a sleeper, Damian Pierce from, Florida. There's some other options, but I think Brian Robinson is definitely a solid pick and will be a contributor year one. You look at, Gibson, he's been kind of not kind of, he has been injury prone his first couple years. The first year he had the turf toe. That was really the only major injury he had, missed a couple games, but was playing hurt for the last 4 or 5 games this season. Then you look at his second year, he played every game except for one, and that was because of the virus, but he had like a shin injury, he had a shoulder injury, he had a hip injury, he had another toe injury, he had so many injuries. He was playing banged up every single week of the season up until that last week of the season where he balled out and he said he was feeling fine. So, you need someone to take the load off of Antonio Gibson. And I love J.D. McKissic, but he's not a guy that can get you 10 plus carries a game. I'm sorry, he's not that guy. He can get you 3, 4, maybe 5 carries in a game, and he'll give you some production there. He might break one for like 7, 8, 9 yards, but you don't want him to get those 10 carries a game because he is going to likely get injured because he's a smaller back. He's not used to that workload. He is a pass catching back. So that's the way you want to use McKissic. And Gibson, you can still use them the same way. Maybe, reduce the carries by a few. And if, let's say, Gibson does go down, you don't have to worry. Or if Gibson is kind of iffy for a game, you can have him sit out, fully heal, and Brian Robinson can give you 15, 20, 25 carries in a game if you need him to. He did that at Alabama this past year, was productive every single year, just didn't get all those carries until this past season where, like I said, 271 carries, 1,343 yards, 5 yards per carry with 14 touchdowns, and was productive as a pass catcher as well. And look at some of the tweets right here. This is from JP Finley, 1,600 plus total yards last year for Brian Robinson. And yeah, they wanted a banger ever since they let Peyton Barber go. So I agree with that. I mean, he's going to be able to help us in those goal line situations, the 3rd and 1. We really kind of struggled with that last year. I thought Gibson would be fine with it, but he really wasn't great at it. So I think Brian Robinson will be able to do that, but much, much more this season. So you look at him, 6'2", 225 pounds, 4'5", 340 yard dash. So not blazing fast, but for that, height and for that weight, that's pretty fast. That is pretty fast for a running back. Vertical leap, 30 inches, not too important for a running back, but that's not bad at all. 30 inches is not bad. And let's look at the player, profile. So they had him projected in the 3rd round, and so that's where we drafted him. We actually drafted him at the very, very end of the 3rd round. His NFL comparison is Chris Carson. Let's read the overview. Robinson is an absolute physical unit with good feet and power to add yards after contact. contact, but his running style is predictable and somewhat indecisive between the tackles. Building and maintaining momentum doesn't always come easily. He's more fight than flight, but delays in processing and a lack of second-level creativity turn him into more of a road grader than he needs to be. He's a linear runner who will likely be utilized as a complementary bulldozer to help wear down defenses, but Robinson might have more potential from sideline to sideline than he receives credit for. And that's what we need him to be. We don't need him to be running back one. We need him to be a complement to Antonio Gibson. In the beginning, it might be only 5, 6, 7 carries a game, but at some point he's going to get the work more and more of the workload, and if Gibson goes down, he's going to be able to give you 15 plus carries in a game. Some of the strengths: built like a linebacker with broad tapered chest, able to take on a heavy workload, and that's what we need. Fast feet for a big back. You guys can see some other things, and I'll give you guys some things from watching him, because I did watch him, especially when I was watching Jameson Williams film. You could tell Brian Robinson was a beast. So he's quicker than you would think, like I said, for someone who's 6'2", 225 pounds, constantly able to break tackles, bulldoze right through people, and he's more elusive again than you would think for a 6'2", 225 pound guy. He's solid in pass protection, and he's solid as a pass catcher. Not great, but we do not need him to be a pass catcher. Like if he can do that, that's fine. But we already have McKissick, who can do that at an elite level. We have Gibson who can do that, even Patterson who can do that. And Carson Wentz doesn't even throw to the running backs that much. So weaknesses: running styles begging for durability concerns, upright runner with a large strike zone to attack, primarily a one-speed runner, doesn't press the line deeply enough. So some of these other things right here, let's see if they have a source to tell us. So I do not mind this pick at all. Again, I do, and some people will think it's not a reach. I think it's a little bit of a reach. I was thinking kind of 4th to 5th round, kind of 4th round for Brian Robinson. But at the end of the day, each team has their preferences. I liked Isaiah Spiller maybe a little bit more than Brian Robinson, but this guy definitely has potential, and it was a position need. Again, this is a depth position, so I think linebacker and safety were more pressing needs, and that's why I really think with that 2nd round pick, Jaquan Brisker would have been the pick I made, or someone else, because now you're going into day 3 with major holes on, at safety still. You got a middle linebacker. You haven't drafted a middle linebacker, or you haven't drafted a linebacker at all. You still maybe a tight end you have to add. You haven't drafted a single offensive lineman. So this pick I do not mind at all. It's the 2nd round pick that really still upsets me, because yes, we do need depth on the defensive line, and he is more than depth, but still he's not going to be the impact player I think that someone like Jaquan Brisker would be in his rookie year. And now we're going to probably have to get some of these guys in free agency. Maybe Landon Collins will want to come back as a Buffalo nickel. I am not sure, but tomorrow is going to be a very, very important day for the Washington Commanders. They got 2 4th round picks. They have no 5th round pick. They have a 6th round pick, I believe, and 2 7th round picks. So I need a safety to be taken, but here's the thing: even a 4th round safety at this point isn't going to be, they could be, but more likely than not going to be an impact day 1 starter. So it's looking like Bob McCain is going to be your week 1 starting free safety unless they make more moves. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.